Our first guest tonight has been nominated for a Golden Globe for stepping into some very large blue suede shoes. He stars alongside Tom Hanks in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place. If you're looking for trouble, just look right in my face. I was born standing up and talking back. My daddy was a green eye.
Elvis is on HBO Max now. Say hello to Austin Butler. I have a question for you. Do you know how many eggs are in the female body?
I have no idea.
There's a couple of young ladies that are super excited. There's a young lady here who's been crying nonstop since I said your name.
Oh,
Isn't
my
that
name?
something? Yeah, your name, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's excited. Oh, certainly not crying
What's your
about my name. The only time people cry when they hear my name is when they thought they were at the Jimmy Fallon show. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing very well.
It's great to have you here. I got to tell you, I look at you, and I would never go like, oh, yeah, this is a kid who looks like Elvis, and yet you transformed into Elvis dazzlingly. I mean, really, like, amazingly.
I also have to say, I've watched your show so many times. I don't remember a time in my life I didn't watch your show, so I'm just really honored.
Oh,
to be
thank
here.
you. That's very nice, Sean. That's very nice. Boy, have you thought of taking this Elvis thing a step further and maybe going to Vegas and marrying some drunk couples or something like that?
Sounds like a nice life.
I'm from Las Vegas, so I'm super interested in this, in the Elvis stuff. I really,
Did you ever see Elvis live when you were a kid?
never saw him live. In fact, he died, spoiler alert, he died, I think about 6 months after we moved to Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Elvis passed away. And I'll never forget, when I remember we were at the movie theater. My mom, it was one of those dollar movie theaters. You'd sit for the whole day watching movies. My mother picked us up at the end of the day in our big old Chevy station wagon. And I got in the car and she said, Elvis Presley died. And I remember thinking, like, you don't have to say his last name. I know who Elvis is. Wow. I was a dick even as a kid. But watching you in that environment, and I know I've heard that you did an incredible amount of preparation for this. Some unplanned preparation, right?
Yeah.
Because Tom Hanks got COVID. Tom Hanks was like the first American to get COVID.
Yeah. It was like America's uncle suddenly getting COVID, and
Yeah.
we were like I think 3 days before starting shooting, and so I'd been preparing for a year and a half, and then suddenly.
You're in Australia.
I'm in Australia.
Tom gets COVID, which was scary at the time, right? I mean,
it was because we didn't know what it was. We'd had these scientists come beforehand and tell us what they thought it was, and so we were all just first concerned for him and Rita, and then once we knew that they were okay, the studio called force majeure on the film, which essentially means they don't have to pay anybody. The film's done, and Baz said, "Well, I think you got to go back to the States." But I knew I'd just been so focused for so long that I knew that I would lose it if I went back here. So, because you get real life starts flooding in and you lose your focus.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So I stayed and then it became like A Beautiful Mind or a detective scene or something because I wallpapered my entire apartment with images of Elvis from different time periods and. I had these compilations of his voice that I would listen to every day, his laugh, his different songs, and it just became this time where I'd gotten to work with these incredible people like dialect coaches and singing coaches, a movement coach, and I had a karate instructor, and I just had all these people.
Really, you went that far, huh?
Yeah.
Because Elvis loved to do karate. That was one of the things that tickled me about Elvis, is seeing him in the karate suit.
Yeah.
And he had the red belt, and then he had a black belt.
When he's got the glasses on and he's fighting the guy?
Oh, the glasses and the sideburns, and he's doing karate. Did he really know how to do karate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it every day since you know, the 60s. And he was, I mean, his technique was questionable, but it sure looked good.
I love when he would incorporate it into stage work. You did that a little bit,
fun.
and he'd suddenly throw a kick or something like that, and you're like, yeah, that's so Elvis.
Yeah.
He also, as I recall, because I know a few things about Elvis. I learned some things from the movie, but he just like to do karate in boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that how you do your karate?
If I did do karate, I would probably wear boots, yeah.
Yeah, it feels better that way.
That's interesting. Yeah. And then another thing when I was watching the movie, you were at one point barefoot, and I thought, hey, I've never seen Elvis's feet, really.
Oh. I hadn't thought about that.
So while you were immersing yourself, were you like totally holed up in your place, or would you go out?
Yeah, I was for a few months when they didn't want anybody to leave, and then once I was allowed to leave the apartment, you know, I would usually wake up every day around 3 or 4 in the morning with this terror. It was just such a daunting thing, and I really just was guided by my terror, really, because I would go, I don't know how to sing this one line of a song, or it would be a certain word that he said. I couldn't figure out where the placement was and what the architecture of my mouth should be, or whatever that was. And one thing was also his laughter. You know, how does he laugh? And so I made a compilation of his laughter. And when I was finally able to leave the apartment, I lived right on the beach in Australia, and I'd walk down the beach for hours with a headphone in, laughing as Elvis. So it looked like this man just absolutely out of his mind. There was, you know, surfers are looking at me going, what's happening here? But that was my life.
And after all that studying, how does Elvis laugh?
Well, I mean, many different ways, but one thing that he would do is he would do this ingressive laugh, which is like, I don't know, I've done that in a long time, but it was like that little suck in that you get. He did that a lot.
What do you think Elvis would make of this intense study of him?
I mean, imagine somebody studying you like that.
It would be
reading
very
books on
strange.
Kimmel and spending 2 years just doing nothing but watching your every move. It would be wild.
In a way, that's what Guillermo's been doing. He says nothing.
Guillermo.
Hey, how are you?
He's the first one who greeted me today, and he's just the loveliest human being.
Oh, thank you, man.
He is. He's our ambassador of goodwill. Yeah. Which is the hardest Elvis song to sing?
I mean, everyone has a different challenge to it. Trouble, actually, the clip that you showed before, that was quite hard because with the movement of it. So there's moments where you're up on your toes, and what you don't want when you're singing is your vocal cords to be tight. So you're having to figure out how to relax here while you're exerting so much energy in the rest of your body.
Which one was your favorite song to sing?
I mean, that was also one of the favorites. Also, Polk Salad Annie. I love that song. That was a blast.
You know, your singing is so good that people started to question and say that, oh, he's not really singing in the movie. But then Baz Luhrmann put out a tape. This was like an audition tape? What was this that he put out?
What he put out was a costume test. So we were just testing for the clothing. I wasn't supposed to sing anything that day, and it was about a year before we started shooting. And then he said, you know, why don't you just sing something? And so then I started singing, and I had no idea that.
Well, we have that. Let's take a quick look at that.
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right for you. That's all right, Mama. Just any way you do. That's all right. Oh, that's all right. That's all right now, Mama. Any way you do.
I have to say, that's very good singing for a clothing test. Yeah. It seemed like everything fit pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there'll be more screaming, there'll be more crying, and there'll be more Austin Butler. Elvis is his movie. We'll be right back. Austin Butler, who is Elvis, who played Elvis and beautifully. You've worked with, at a young age already, you worked with obviously Baz Luhrmann, but also Quentin Tarantino in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is Is he, like, for you, one of, like, the guys that you most wanted to work with?
He was my dream. At about, I think I saw Pulp Fiction when I was about 11 or 12.
Really?
I was very young for that film.
No supervision at home?
No. And I started acting when I was about 12, and so we'd drive up to LA, going to Nickelodeon auditions or something, and I became obsessed. It was the first time that I remember thinking, this is a great screenplay. You know, I'd always seen a film as a whole thing, but then I sort of was able to break it down and go, somebody had to write these words, and this is brilliant. And so I printed out the script, and I'd read it to my mom when we drove up to auditions or acting class or that sort of thing. And so it would be like somebody would pull up, and I'd be a 12-year-old kid saying to his mom, you know, for 5 long years, I carried this watch up my ass. So it was,
Oh, that's pretty funny. And did you enjoy was it all you imagined it would be working with him on the movie?
It was greater than I could have ever imagined, because he's all those things that I thought he would be, you know, an amazing filmmaker, a visionary, and a great leader and all those things, but he was so fun. I know that you know him quite well.
The enthusiasm is like, it's infectious, for sure.
It's incredible. The first night that we were filming, we were doing the night stuff where Leo comes and screams at us in the car. And we were doing this night shoot, and at one point, Quentin, he ordered a crepe truck. So they had Nutella and strawberry crepes and that sort of thing. And it's 3 in the morning, and you know, night shoots are usually this really exhausting thing, but I just was like a kid in a candy store. And I was standing
Almost
next
literally,
to,
yeah.
And I'm standing next to Quentin, and he goes, "How great is this? We're eating crepes, we're making a movie." He's like, you know what my thing is? I want to give everybody on my set such a good time that their next job sucks. I thought, like, what a great way to make movies.
By the way, if they make a movie about Quentin Tarantino, you might be a candidate for that, too. That's a pretty good impersonation. Grab those sideburns from the old... Oh, by the way, speaking of sideburns, you know, I have to tell you, I was a little disappointed because I was hoping Baz Luhrmann would call me to play Elvis just before the end. But instead, they had... Now, what is going on? How did they do this?
That was a makeup test. We were trying to figure out when it was too far. And so I'm quite sweaty, and my hair's disheveled. Everything is prosthetics there, essentially.
Yeah, everything there is prosthetic. In the sweat, is that spray on, or are you really sweating?
That was spray on, because I don't think I could sweat through the prosthetic.
Did you shoot it in order? Like, did you start as young Elvis?
Oh,
and then...
that was the tricky thing. We thought we were going to shoot it that way. But then what we ended up doing was out of sequence, because COVID and everything, schedules, and so it meant that one day we'd be in 73, the next day in 56, and so you have to, and Elvis's voice changed so much, his body changed so much, so that's the reason why I wallpapered my apartment, because I needed the timeline, so I knew, where am I today? You know, there's quotes, there was everything, so I knew where he was spiritually and physically.
Yeah. What's the weirdest thing you learned about Elvis? Because I think there are so many tidbits floating out there, and you might be now one of the foremost authorities on his life, seeing as how much research you've done.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the strangest thing?
I could talk to you about this for days, but the first thing that comes to my mind that I remember reading and thinking, that's a bizarre thing. He got really into horses for a bit, and apparently he loved hot dog buns as well. And so he'd take the bag of hot dog buns and tie them to the saddle horn, and then just eat them by themselves as he was riding horses. And I just thought that image of Elvis Presley eating just the buns was amazing.
Imagine what the horse is probably like. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'd feed the horse a bit as well.
That is crazy. Yeah, after I saw the movie, I was like, suddenly, like, I had this renewed interest in finding things out about Elvis.
It's
and I think I was reading about the karate, and I think one of the other things I read was that when he would do the self-defense training, that he wanted them to use real guns instead of fake prop guns.
Yeah, authenticity.
Do you think he became super paranoid by the end of his life? I mean, it certainly seemed like that in the movie.
Yeah, I think there was no, like Tom Petty says in The Searcher on Elvis, there was no roadmap for him.
Yeah.
There was nobody had experienced that type of fame before. The Beatles had each other. He didn't have anybody. And so that amount of noise and that amount of attention, it can take its toll.
Have you been to like a big award show? I know you're going to the Golden Globes. Have you been to one of these things before?
No, I've been to the viewing party at the Golden Globes, but today, tomorrow I get to be in the room. That feels nice.
Right, you get to be in there. And is there, I know you have an idea of like who's nominated, who's probably going to be. Is there someone who's there who you've always wanted to meet? Is there someone you're nervous about maybe meeting?
You know, I've had the opportunity to meet so many amazing people. Like, I met Kate Blanchett for the first time the other day, and everybody, I mean, she's so lovely, and I've had moments of being quite starstruck, but lately it's been nice because, you know, you're sort of, they've seen the film or something, so they have a different conversation.
It's got to be weird because, there's a different relationship because all these people, you've seen their work and admired their work, and now suddenly you see them and they say the same thing to you. That has to be...
it's so surreal.
Yeah.
Because I remember being in Hollywood today, it made me think of how for so many years, I would drive up from Orange County with my mom and go to hundreds and hundreds of auditions, not book anything. Go to acting class, drive 2 hours back, and suddenly to be sitting here with Jimmy Kimmel and going to the Golden Globes, I can't believe it.
Well, it's great to have you here. I hope to have you here again soon. And I hope to see you at the Academy Awards as well. But good luck.
Be hosting that.
Yeah, I am going to be hosting it.
I'll be cheering you on.
Yeah, you know, hey, listen, we could talk. I can make something happen.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We've given out questionable envelopes before, so
wow, that was a big one.
you know what I'm saying. Austin Butler's with us. Elvis, you've been watching on